What's happening, everybody, man? Thank you guys tuning into One Big Fire. And we should have hit record 7 minutes ago as we were diving in, but we definitely hit the record button this time, and we're ready to rock and roll. Before we kind of continue what we were diving into and wanting to touch on, I think it's going to lead right into it. But I want to let everybody know we are going to be talking about Agent to CEO. Al has brought up a couple good points, what sparked the conversation that we had before we hit record. But you guys, go to, if you're looking to come to Agent to CEO in Cleveland, kind of our signature event on really what it takes to evolve from being an agent. Maybe you have a lifestyle business, maybe just being a practitioner, to really want to become the true CEO of your business and run it like a business. This is the event. This is really the only event. There's all the other stuff. We've got a lot of amazing people that are even a part of the Honeybadger Nation, but they're really not in there teaching you how to think about and grow a business. And so I'm one, obviously biased, but also proud, of this event and being able to be a part of it. You can go to Agent to CEO CLE, or as we've told you guys over and over, I'm going to keep telling you guys over and over, the go-to resource is honeybadgernation.com. This is actually on the honeybadgernation.com site. You can go right there, which will take you to the page to where you guys can get your tickets. Only 100 seats. I know a handful of tickets are already gone. And we haven't even hit the gas on the promotion. So if you guys are thinking about it, want to grab your tickets, honeybadgernation.com is the go-to resource. Al, tee it up, man. You had grabbed one of the resources. That's what I always call that book. I throw it into the resource manual of how to operate your business. And we shared a couple of weeks ago, we've talked about the transformation for us, which was the light bulb that really led to a lot of the things that we did at NAEA and the mastermind was, how in the hell do we get Kinder out of production? Right. And we had always talked about the two things. We'd always talked about, CHSA, proven repeatable system for anybody to articulate the value of why anybody would want to do business with you. And then the other was, simple number, straight talk, big profits. Those two things. And the conversation with Kyle a couple of weeks ago sparked the thing that I was like, those two weren't even possible until we had the first. And the first was having a plan to really operate and run our business, which we gleaned from Mastering the Rockefeller Habits with Vern Harnish. And you've got the graduate level edition book there, Al, Scaling Up. There's other operating systems too, right? It's the EOS. You can grab Traction. You can go through all of Gino's stuff, which Gino's a disciple of Vern. I mean, he gives credit to Vern right in the opening page of Traction. The other is 4Ds of execution, right? But you've got to have some framework to be able to think about and strategically run and operate your business. But Al, you were reading us a really important distinction and awareness section out of Scaling Up. I think it's super important for you to reread that for everybody.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's tough to, there's a lot of noise out there and everybody's trying to grab your attention, including us. This just happens to be a topic we're super passionate about, but I wanted to share something with you guys. I didn't even share before when we were shooting it. And I bank at PNC Bank, and this is I'm not, endorsing them by any means. I've been with them for a very long time. And I walked into the bank to do some banking, and I've seen this a couple of times, and I wanted to tell you guys about it because it kind of ties into this, is that their newest like promotion thing they're doing is it says on the wall, we've been brilliantly boring for X amount of years. And I was just like, I said to the manager, I said, that is a brilliant marketing campaign, brilliantly boring. Uh-huh. And it's because, look, this is not going to be a boring event. So don't draw that conclusion. But I say that because, this isn't the super sizzly AI sexy stuff that you're seeing everywhere this is focusing on the things that you have. I mean, maybe it's a little boring at first, or maybe from the title, you think scaling up. It's not some big flashy thing, but what I wanted to get to was, the dumbest in the room. Okay. I opened this book up many, many years ago. I read it. And I picked it back up because a lot of the principles that are talked about in this book, we're going to be really transforming into what it looks like to grow a real estate team, grow a real estate organization into something that works harder for you than you're working in it. In order to do that, you got to be the dumbest in the room. So I'm going to read. Can I read the passage, boys?
Yeah, please.
So team leaders know they have succeeded in building an organization that can scale and is fun to run. I love how they threw that in there. When they are the dumbest people in the room. In turn, if they think they have all the answers or they act like they have all the answers, it guarantees organizational silence and exacerbates blindness. So, that kind of just leads right into, what we're going to be doing, at Agent to CEO. So we talk about two different rooms, guys. And I want to, Jay, love your opinion on this because you've been in a lot of rooms. I mean, joined every mastermind, you and Mike, John, you as well. And I have as well. But I want to find out, like, what does it feel like? Like, how do you know you're in the right room as it relates to an event? And then I want to move over to the dumbest in the room as it relates to your company. And that's really the real where the real magic comes in is when you're looking around the boardroom, you're like, dang, I'm surrounded by people that are way smarter than me.
Yep.
And that's the pinnacle, right?
Yep.
But in order to get to that room, to be the dumbest in that room, you first have to start inserting yourself as the dumbest in other rooms. What do we mean by that?
It's getting in rooms where people have when you can look at everybody in the room and their levels above where you're at, and you can start to see what's your next biggest obstacle. It's like being able to see around the corner. When we were a part of the mastermind, we did 3 times a year. We were in the mastermind with Clayton Mask when they were scaling to $1 billion. And, when we started, it was, their biggest challenge was, they hired so many employees that they couldn't get all their chairs. They had a big stack of chairs when we got there, and they were trying to put all these chairs together. Their biggest bottleneck at the time, where they're hiring so many people, is they couldn't get the office chairs put together fast enough for the people they were hiring. And I was like, that is a problem I've never encountered. Right. So, seeing them, grow, their leadership team and how they executed, how they made decisions, but getting in the room with people that are double the size that you're at and seeing how they operate and seeing how they conduct their meetings and their strategy and how they make decisions. It's like seeing the future. Once you see it, you can't see it. I remember when Mike went down and visited in Austin. What's his name? Oh, dang, I just lost it. It was
I can see his
GDP. At the time, they were doing about 12 million when we were at about 3 or 4 million. And he said, dude, I would have walked on, glass barefooted all the way down there just to see how they operated, because once you see that, you can go back and you see now what you should be doing. And so it's really just about seeing where people are at that are above where you're at, so you can see what it looks like and how they operate. I think it's not about them necessarily being smarter, but you see the operation of what you have to be, who you have to become as an organization in order to get there.
Yeah, there's a slide that I always share at the beginning of KT, and it asks the question, right? Does the group increase my awareness of who I am, where I am, and what I have to do? Does the group inspire me to take action based on my new awareness? And does the group offer accountability for the actions I'm committing to? So that's kind of the 3 questions to check the box, right? Awareness, action, and accountability, right? Does that group do that? Is there inspiration there? And most of the problem that we understand, but a lot of people don't, is that they're just not problem aware. And, getting into rooms that are going to challenge you, it's not that you're the dumbest one in there, but you're not the smartest one. And in whatever area of your life that you're trying to improve. And, that's the first thing, man. Do I have a level of awareness? Is it realizing, that there's things that I'm just not seeing? Because we all have blind spots, right? That's why we hire great coaches, because they can see around corners. They can see our blind spots that we can't see. But they also have to inspire you to take action. That room is like, damn, I don't want to show up at the next. And that was how we were with Clay, right? We didn't want to show up at the next thing and not make progress on what it is, because we knew the other groups that were going to be in there, they were on a roll. And we were like, man, we can't let them. So there's a little bit of a competitiveness, but inspiration. But then a group like that, right? Like showing up is accountability. And it's like, man, I'm not going to show up and not do what I said I was going to do. So I think those are kind of the important factors to look into, in any group that you step into.
I think part of the benefit, I used to always say half of the benefit of being that specific mastermind, and there were several that we were part of that were very similar in their structure, but knowing that we had to present in front of that group where we were trying to go, and what was the biggest problem. Getting to that clarity before you go is probably half the value.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, you have to present, you have to be crystal clear on where you're at, where you're trying to go, and what is the problem you're trying to solve, so that you can get that feedback from people who have been through it and get some, and confidently move in a direction. Because a lot of times you think you might know what your next step is, but you really haven't had any peers that are at a higher level say, man, maybe check this, or maybe you need to do that. And getting that feedback so you can go back with confidence and take that next move is, I think, extremely valuable in those rooms.
Yeah, man. It made me start thinking about my journey. And the first time I stepped into a room with you guys was in 2010 in Dallas. And it was at the EGS. And this wasn't a big EGS. This was like maybe 200 people in the room. It's before you guys started, getting to 600, 700, 900 people. And I'm grateful to this day there was only 200 in that room, because that was when I had my aha. If it was too big of a room, I don't know that it would have the impact, but I started. So first thing, the first step, if you're thinking of stages, is where are you at in your journey to know if you're the dumbest in the room? And the first step is awareness. You had brought it up, John. Now let's talk about, are you aware? Maybe you're not aware. A good reason you should grab a ticket to Agent to CEO. You will get awareness quick. After maybe you have an awareness. Maybe you know that you're stuck. Maybe you know that you don't know what you don't know, or what you need to know. And then the next step is, okay, what do I need to grasp onto? Who do I need to connect with that's already been where I'm at, so that I can actually now take action? I have the awareness now. What do I do next? And so for me, sitting in that room, I had the awareness. I became ultra aware. And then I gained an inspiration, or a new belief that I can actually do that, because I'm with other people that, they maybe they're smarter than me, maybe they're not, but they've been where I want to go already. And they're the culture that you, Mike, John created with that event is a culture of bringing people up, pulling the people up. And John, there's that analogy. You're in one of three places. You're either in a room where you're pulling people up to your level, right? Or you're in a room where you're in equal, kind of like peers that are in the same spot you are, or you're down here looking to get pulled up. And so this is definitely a room where I think you're going to get a little bit of all three, but I mean, we're going to have some powerhouses. We're going to have people. What's cool about this too is we have an equal amount of lady CEOs and men CEOs who have grown massive organizations and teams that have actually been able to replace themselves and step out of the business. Tina Call, and she's not completely stepped out, but she's replaced herself. And actually, it was John Sheplack. I think this might have been the second year that I went, and he stood up there. I'll never forget this. Is the one of the many wise things he said was, are you replacing yourself every day in your business? Yeah. And that's a really good question to start asking if you're wondering, like, am I a right person to get in this room? Are you replacing yourself with all the low dollar per hour tasks that you find yourself doing on a daily basis that are getting in the way of you doing high dollar per hour tasks, or even thinking strategically? Yeah. So we got Tina, we got Michelle Wilson. Wow. I mean, the lady power that we have coming to this event is so inspiring to me. we also have, Dustin Black and Blake Sloan. And, you guys can touch on what he's done. I mean,
dude,
we know
Blake probably runs the most efficient organization. John, you would know, you've looked under the of more than any of us.
Nobody leads like him. I've never seen anybody lead their organization the way he leads. I've never seen anybody to be able to strategically. So this was his objective in 2024 was to spend one week gone each month with him and his family. He accomplished it. I know he had set out originally for the goal to be this way, but it's a little easier to do that with one. But now 2 car seats, it's a little different. But but I've never seen anybody to the level that he operates at. And he does it through culture. He does it through leadership. He does it through accountability. He does it through, doing what you say you're going to do, and really excelling at a high level. I'm excited for him to come in. I'm really excited for DB, just because of what he's been able to accomplish. And, he's a connector, but being able to build what he's been able to build, and, as a consumer of his services, right? Utilizing his company. Cause I know you used him a few times. I've used them. They are the best in the business. I've never had anybody else that, especially moving a lot lately, I've never experienced that type of service of what they're able to deliver and, what he's been able to build. So it's going to be fun to be able to have him in the room with us as well.
Hey, going back to Blake. So the metric that I look for when I'm looking at, what's that benchmark? I think it's, profit per agent or productivity per agent or gross margin per agent. I think he's at 43% out of production. I don't think there's anyone I know that's producing at that high of a level. That's just efficiency across the board. Mm-hmm. And just mind blowing when you see that type of number for someone that's out of production and they're not in an average sale price of $1 million or $8
and holding a profit percentage, right? So to that metric that you were talking about, but also the bottom line.
Right.
And I think that's where, a lot of agents, and like for us, that was the third thing that allowed us to efficiently operate the business, get you fully out of production, was understanding that dynamic of top line revenue, gross profit, because that's what you're talking about after paying broker fees, sales, referrals, agents, all of the things that you have to pay. And then profit, that leaves you salaries and expenses to essentially put the best team on the field. And he's done an incredible job at holding tight with that profit margin and, getting the agents to perform while keeping a lot of money into the company. In one of the toughest markets on the planet, Myrtle Beach is one of the hardest markets. I mean, it's the first market that I've heard that has over 120 days on market.
Yep.
Like, what other markets out there right now have 120 days on market average? I remember those days. They were freaking painful. That's 200 active inventory days. Cause if you remember that, that's like, I still have nightmares about those days.
It's extremely difficult to go from a good market to a down market because the things you have to get better at, those systems generally are not the ones you're focused on having in place. So price reductions, getting properties priced correctly, like those are things that will kill your net profitability if you don't have that dialed in going into the down season. And so it's super fascinating. I think with all the different angles that people are taking with their teams, and they're going Zillow Flex and they're getting referrals and they're all that. Like, if you're not truly running a financial model that shows profitability, everything looks good, but you're not making any money. And I think Blake is just a great example of really how to tweak it and make it profitable and be consistent every single day with your leadership and drive profitability to numbers we've really rarely ever seen anybody. Yeah. At 800 units or 500 units, he's still cranking the profitability.
Still cranking the profit. The margin's still the margin. And, I think just thinking back in 2010, to your point there, Al, I think that was the first time, it was the first time I met Blake.
Yeah.
And I know Jay was coaching him personally one-on-one at that time. And so really getting to know, Blake at that time and, just an aggressive, good looking kid that just hustled and, he's always been a tremendous student. And so then being able to really become a business owner and he knows the numbers backwards and forwards. And because that's what I was trying to pull out of there is you've got to know the numbers.
Mhm.
And listen, what won us over was Crabtree, right? Because there's only a handful of numbers. Then you can go deep if that number is off, but you only need to pay attention to a handful of numbers. And that really changed for us. I mean, the three things, but that one was a massive shift for us to really get everything under control.
Yeah. And I think, another, fascinating thing to think about too is, where for years we looked at people on stage and they appear to be doing well and things look great. And then you open the hood and you realize, they got a ton of debt and they're not, they're miserable in their personal life. Like Blake is a person that when you look at how he operates and how he lives his life and the balance that he has, you would trade places. Most people would trade places with him. Yeah. And I think that's, one of the things that you're looking for is it's not just numbers. We're looking at, hey man, how are you living life? And is this serving you, or is your business, are you a slave? Are you just adding bars to the jail cell around you, or are you actually running the business? And so, that's I think, again, super excited, for all the people we've got speaking, all in their own rights are doing this at a high level. And so, you can't get there without, once you see it, I'm just one of those people that, like, when you put me in the room and I see somebody's doing something, I know it can be done. So now it's just a matter of figuring out how to do it. And if that's the kind of person that you are, and you're not where you need to be, then you got to get in rooms like this.
When you think about Dustin, grew a eight-figure business in black tie moving, and then says one day, I think I'm going to be a country music star. Okay. Had to hire a CEO to replace himself in his business. It kept running, kept cranking. It oftentimes sometimes still comes with some stumbling blocks where you got to go back into the business, which we know that's what happened. You'll learn the whole story from Dustin, at agent to CEO. But I mean, imagine that. Imagine saying, I think I want to keep my real estate business going, but I want to go chase my dream, whatever that is. You can't do that unless you fall in love with the boring process, the process of figuring, when we talk about the sexy stuff, we're usually talking about marketing, the fun part about marketing, social media, how do we post, the right content, and all that fun stuff. Right. And then it comes down to, all right, what does a P&L look like? And where do I have to make an adjustment? And those adjustments can be painful. Are you paying too high of a split to your agents? Are you maybe not paying enough of a split? We're going to have people in this room who've lived all of that and that you're going to be able to learn from. And so if you're hungry, humble, smart, I would recommend getting a VIP ticket too, because the thing that I don't know that we've talked about on the pod yet is the VIP experience is something new. We haven't done that in the past. Now there's 20 tickets. There's less than 20 tickets now. I got to look at the numbers, but the VIP, if you buy the VIP ticket, there's only 20. We're going to have a dinner. That's a private VIP dinner where you're going to get, we're going to dig even deeper in with some of these players that have done things that frankly, I haven't even done, I've never, got my business to a point where it's on somewhat of a trajectory where I can actually go and then chase a country music career. That's a big deal to be able to do that. You really have to have your numbers dialed in to be able to do that. And you're going to learn that from a lot of these great leaders that you're going to meet at agent to CEO. So get that VIP ticket. It's also going to come with a ticket. Not only are you going to hear Dustin's business journey and all, I think that people are going to learn more. You're going to hear a lot of failures, like, oh man, I tried this and then this happened. And here's how I recovered. Here's the lessons I've learned. Those are the biggest nuggets that you're going to be pulling out of this. And then you're going to get to hear Dustin perform for us as well. So proof in the pudding. We got Dustin. We got a lineup of just pure stars and talent coming for our Rock the Spectrum that follows on day 2. So it's going to be fun. good.
I'm excited for that. You always put together one hell of a show, Al, and kind of running with a little Tootsie's singer-songwriter theme this year is going to be pretty spot on, pretty exceptional. I'm looking forward to, two great days, helping agents build their business, but then being able to just unwind, listen to some great music, and really connect and celebrate with everybody.
Yeah, we got our boy Michael Rotundo's coming. We got Rotundo. We got Michael Ray is the headliner. Look him up if you haven't. I'm sure you've heard his songs. He's had multiple top 10 hits on the country charts. Michael Ray. We got Josh Phillips, who's wrote probably over a dozen number ones for other artists that you're hearing on the radio every day. Josh is going to be there. It's just an amazing lineup. So 2 days of you're going to leave changed. And I think like the biggest thing in change is, are you going to hear some tactics? Probably. You're going to hear a lot of tactics, but this is going to change the way you think. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest gift I think that this event can give people, is that it's not going to just give you all the answers. It's going to teach you how to think better. Yeah. Be a better leader so that you can lead an organization to get you to that point. So, link Anna Medina. Savannah. Yep. Honeybadgernation.com. You're going to find the link to the event. Can't wait to see you there, Anna.
Yeah. The thing we've talked always about this, right? And understanding theory of constraints. It's finally understanding, why it's Vern's #1 book recommendation, just how to look and operate through anything. And we heard, Glenn a couple years talking about the importance of to set, massive goals, right? We talk about, an agent, hey, I want to make 100,000 this year. Well, what if you had to make 100,000 in the next 30 days, right? So you change the problem. And I don't know if you guys have seen, Dr. Benjamin Hardy, who co-wrote Who Not How, The Gap in the Gain, and 10X is Faster Than 2X with Dan Sullivan, just released his own new book called The Science of Scaling. And the launch process and everything for it is just gangster, super spot on. I mean, it's all about building his coaching program. But what they talk about in there is setting unachievable goals. Setting unachievable goals that, like, if you put your brain to it, you're like, it's not a big, hairy, audacious goal. It's beyond that. It's like, there is no way conceivable that my brain, there's no way, right? Like, go from, so for example, it would be like, NAEA, we got to 10 million. If we set an impossible goal, it would be if we had to get to 100 million in the next 3 years. So you set that massive goal, and what he says is it changes the frame of the conversation. It changes the frame of the business, but now it raises the floor. It raises the floor to, okay, I know what it took to get us to 10. What has to happen for us to get to 100? And then it gets down to the next point that we've all talked about. I think, Al, you even sent me a reel on it about signal and noise. Is now everything that you do has to be signal, has to be in alignment to go from 10 to 100 and eliminate all of the noise. Because if it doesn't help, then it's noise and you've got to eliminate it. And it's a really good way to think about it. And it's what we talk about agent to CEO, right? What is the vision? What's the goal? What are we trying to do? And then, but it's then poking back at you and going, your goal's too small. Your goal's too small. You're not thinking big enough. That's the problem. You're playing too small. And I think it's just a great reminder for all of us, kind of heading into the second half of this year, heading into a massive headwind in this market, to step back and you're like, dude, I'm just trying to survive. I'm trying to get a deal together. Well, you're playing too small because you're thinking about survival. But what if you had to do, how do I do one deal? What if you had to do 100 deals in the next 30 days? How would you do it? And it just changes the way you think. And it's some really good examples that Ben talks about. I think you can go download and get the audiobook for free. Tony Robbins wrote the foreword to it. It's pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah, man.
Love it.
So Al, what else do we got? What else? Anything pressing? Anything that's kind of out there? That's a topic that we want to touch on this week.
Yeah, I mean, when you're bringing up Blake and to just bring up Myrtle Beach, you said 120 days on the market. Think about, and I don't know all the members on Blake's team, intimately or close. He grew up, I'm sure his team has transformed over the years since he was in our mastermind and everything. But think about, you have to imagine that probably at least 80% of the agents on that team don't even understand how to do a price reduction because you hadn't had to do one for all these years. You hadn't, we've talked about this. Fridays for me, when I was fully engulfed in listings, and I was carrying 20, 30 listings as a solo agent, whatever, or when I had a small team, Fridays were price reduction day. This was the day that I would sit down, look at all my listings that weren't moving, weren't selling, and okay, what's the new strategy? Well, it's, as long as we've checked all the other boxes, there's only one, and it's price. If it's not priced right, it's not going to sell in a market like this. Now, that wasn't the case 5 years ago. 2020, you could put something that was 20, 30,000, 50,000 overpriced, depending on your market. You're going to get offers still. It's nuts. And that's just not the case right now. You have to learn different strategies. And it just blew me away, Jay, because actually the average days on market nationally is like 36, 35 days, let's call it.
Right.
They're at 120.
Yeah.
And he's still been able to do it. So, yeah, make sure you get that ticket. If you can't do the VIP, get yourself a general admission ticket. Both include tickets, by the way, to the concert afterwards. And I wanted to bring this up a little bit off topic, but you talked about the goal, Jay. The goal of this event for us is not to make money. Every penny of profit goes right to a charity that we picked out. It's going to Hiram Farms, which is a farm that employs autistic adults and teaches them how to be farmers. Matthew and I are on Thursday. We're going to go out and shoot some video of this place. I've already visited the site. Super inspiring. So this event for us is about value. It's about extending the value to not just our people, but in Honeybadger Nation, but outside of our group as well. Everyone's invited. This is brand agnostic, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. So make sure you grab a ticket. This is not an EXP event, although that is, where we have built our foundation off of, and we believe it is the best. But that's not. This isn't going to be a recruiting event or anything like that. This is digging deep into the weeds. You're going to be really blown away. Last year, we had people walking out of there in tears, not because they came, because it hit an emotional nerve for them, and they had this aha moment to where they're like, holy crap, like there's another level that I just wasn't thinking big enough. And so from an inspiration standpoint, there's going to be a giant check in that box, but understand that this is also for a really good cause. And we do this to give back. So if that's one of your goals is to be giving back, and like, how do I give back? Come to the event and you'll be a part of it. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
September 24th and 25th. It's
land.
Yeah, just under 60 days away or so. Actually, a little more than 60 days away, and the weather will be beautiful. And even if it's not, this year it's going to be all under the roof, and we're moving it right next door from Forward. Everyone that's been to the event, I've been getting a lot of calls for sponsors. We haven't even taken any sponsors yet. We will be. I promise you. We're going to have the input sheet ready and be able to, everyone who's been reaching out, wanting to sponsor the event. We've had mostly the same group of sponsors who sponsor it every single year. And because they love the event, we're now combining the agent to CEO with Rock the Spectrum.
Yeah. So every penny from that event goes right into Rock the Spectrum, goes right into, the cause that we're rallying behind you, Al. This is your 10th year. Obviously started out, Cleveland Food Bank, then moved into, really, giving as much as we could to child and women, trafficking, and then now to another cause with Rock the Spectrum. So this is awesome.
Sure. Love it.
Fellas, man, I know 60 something days away. So it's coming up fast. I'm excited to, build this as we lead up to it. And, the cast of characters that we've assembled this year is going to be world-class as always.
Speaking of life by strategy, Jay had this really cool background with palm trees, which we used to see on a regular basis when you were living in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
But you're coming to us from a different island.
Yeah, we're Grand Cayman, so got a couple more days here. We did the Stingray trip. It's probably, I was telling John this earlier before you jumped on, like it really is probably the best island in the Caribbean. Like when you take into consideration how close it is, just how friendly people are, how Americanized it is, the quality of food, the beaches. I mean, it really is a fantastic vacation location. So I highly recommend. I've lived on an island, so I can tell you I got a little experience. This is probably one of the best vacations you can plan as Grand Cayman.
That's awesome.
Thanks for breaking out the time away from your family to spend here with us in the One Big Fire.
Of course.
John, always great. Excited to see everybody in Cleveland. Honeybadgernation.com. Grab your tickets.
Let's go. All right, guys. Appreciate y'all. See ya.